Welcome to B2B No Bull.
That's right, no double speaker gibberish, no talking heads. This is a safe place to talk about what you as professionals in the space can do to look like heroes to your bosses, make sales very happy, bring success to the organization, and that bottom line. Let's get started.
Welcome to another exciting episode of B2B No Bull. Now, you'll know this, but we're the podcast who cuts through the jargon, cuts out the double speak, and we just get right to what marketers need to help them learn and grow in their jobs. So glad to have you here.
And you're Liz Brohan.
I am Liz Brohan. Yeah. Thank you, Mark Brohan.
And I'm her brother, Mark. So we're here to have real conversations about challenges that keep B2B marketers up at night and maybe even, have a laugh or two.
Absolutely. And today we have such an exciting episode that I think is going to surprise you in the best possible way. Because with us today is an individual who's an expert in astrology. Yep, you heard me right. Astrology.
And we're going to meet a tall, dark stranger. No, I've already met a tall, dark stranger. Okay, I got that one. But, before you roll your eyes, trust us, our guest is not here to read your horoscope. She's here to share how astrology can actually help you in your role as a B2B marketer make smarter decisions, which I think is a fascinating topic.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. So let me all introduce you to Susan Gidel. She is the owner of Susan G Says, and what she has done is she's taken her expertise and her former experience in the future commodities industry and combined that with deep expertise in astrology to help all of us navigate this better. So welcome, Susan.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. It's nice to be with both of you, and in person even.
How about it? Yeah. We're happy to have you in person too. Okay.
And I will add that not only the commodity futures business and astrology, but also as a marketing director for a brokerage firm in the business. So kind of all things merging together.
And I know you're working with a lot of marketers now, which is another reason we wanted to have you on the show. So everybody buckle up because we got a lot to talk about right now. So Susan, let's start with your story because it's a pretty incredible story, right? Tell us how all of this kind of came together.
I grew up on a farm in Northwest Illinois, and when I was a teenager, we grew corn, cattle, chickens, and my dad would come in every day for lunch, or dinner, as we would call it on the farm, and want to know what the price of corn was. And it was on TV at 12:15. And
perfect.
Had to quit watching whatever soap opera my sister and I were watching to flip over the news, see what the price of corn was at 12:15. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, why does he have to know this every day? What could possibly change on a day-to-day basis that would make a difference?
And now you know better, right?
Yeah, and so I just got really fascinated by why prices move like that, why people care. And so I studied some ag-econ and started working got an ag journalism degree, started working for a trade magazine in the futures business. And here we are. It's still fascinating to me what makes prices move. And now I'm on to the planets are part of that.
See, we love that. I mean, we grew up, Liz and I, listening to our dad who knew Orion Samuelson from WGN radio and TV. Mm-hmm. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. We listened to them too.
Yeah. So actually our dad knew Orion a little bit back in the day, but I'm a former ag reporter myself. So I know a thing or two about that. So yeah, but.
Well, I'll dumb it down a little. At 12:30 in my elementary school, I was watching Bozo Circus. So your dad was way ahead of me.
Well, we didn't get Bozo out in the boondocks.
There you go. Lucky me.
We can still do the grand prize games here next time you're on. How's that?
There you go.
Absolutely. So anyway, now you're helping marketers and business executives, to kind of figure out when to launch a campaign, when to send an email, helping them use the heavens and the earth and the stars, really, to figure out what to do in business and when to do it.
Mm-hmm. And it's not hard. It's there's a couple basic things. You've all heard of Mercury retrograde, probably. And Mercury retrograde is planets turn retrograde when they slow down and they appear to be moving backwards in the sky. They don't move backwards really, but from our perspective, it looks like they are. And so when planets are retrograde, any planet, except the sun and the moon don't go retrograde, but all the rest of them do. So when a planet's retrograde, it's time for review for us on Earth, to review the things that planet stands for. And so Mercury stands for communications, for transactions, commercial business, price movement, anything like that. Anything that is associated with commerce and communications is a Mercury thing. And so when it's retrograde, it's time to review all of those things that are going on.
That is so interesting because I always associated Mercury in retrograde, and I just told all of my colleagues we're not going to be able to communicate for the next 3 weeks. But you're telling us that it can be a good thing.
Well, you do have to be more careful. You know, it's not an ideal time to sign a contract. It's not an ideal time to cut the deal. But, you know, sometimes you just have to. And at the very least, to be aware of when Mercury is retrograde, you know that if you're in those situations that you have to be really double careful on reading all the fine print and reading it twice and 3 times and checking the I's and the T's and everything, because mistakes can happen. Miscommunication happens with Mercury retrograde.
I agree with that. Double down for sure on making sure that you've got the details right. But how do we find out when Mercury's in retrograde?
Fortunately, today there's lots of apps that can help you.
Yay!
Give you the alert on when Mercury's retrograde. Google, any of that can help. And, you know, Mercury's retrograde 3 weeks at a time for 3 to 4 times a year. And so it's not like you can give up communicating for 9 to 12 weeks out of every year. I mean, that just won't work. So you have to learn to work with it. And, you know, some of the best things you can do with a Mercury retrograde from a marketing perspective are to do things that have re in them, like relaunch an old campaign.
Nice.
And to old customers, you know, people from the past.
Or to reconnect.
Reconnect, yeah, exactly. So there are good things that you can do.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Pick up an old campaign, you know, that you haven't run for a while, and rerun it.
Got it. So what else or how else does astrology help guide the things that we do in our business lives?
Once again, I think one of the easiest things to do is to track when the moon is void of course. And that's kind of astrologer speak. For when the moon is not making any strong connection to any of the other planets. And so the moon guides our emotions. And when the moon is void, meaning that it's not connected, it's kind of it and our emotions don't have any real thing to grab onto. We're kind of floating about, not really knowing what to do. We aren't connected and grounded to some other something. And so when the moon is void, once again, and that happens every 2.5 days, maybe.
Oh, wow.
So a couple times a week, the moon can go void for 2 minutes at a time to 36 hours.
Oh, my goodness.
Once again, an app will help you figure out when those times are. But literally, I put them in my calendar. I'm old school. I have an old, paper calendar. And I highlight the times. And I do not schedule meetings then. I do not schedule anything of import. And as a writer, what I've discovered for myself is that I write really badly when the moon is void. And so I've just given up doing that. And because I would just have to go back and rewrite it and edit it over again. And so I'm like, well, I'm just not going to do that anymore.
So there are some ties that bind here that we're hearing. I mean, we're talking about the moon, but, we're also going to kind of talk about millennials and open and market results and that kind of thing. So what's the tie in there, do you think, especially as it relates to the moon and millennials and marketing metrics that we all kind of look at for a living these days?
Well, the moon is really interesting because it changes signs every 2.5 days in a month. It shifts our emotional status, emotional reaction every time it goes through a new sign. And so I did an experiment once with a client where we ran a subject line in a 50-50 test against their current best subject line. And we did a 50-50 test over 4 hours, and the one with the subject line that had been written to coordinate with the sign of the moon when it was released improved, lifted the previous best by 86%.
Oh my gosh.
And then it went to the full campaign and it lifted the open rate by 36% and net response by 33%.
Are you all getting this? This is incredible.
Yeah, it was eye-opening.
It makes me want to test it too.
Yeah. And for example, when the moon is in Cancer, a subject line that is about being comfy, cozy, nurturing. If it's in Capricorn, I want practical results. If it's in Virgo, I want details. If it's in Scorpio, I may have secrets. So like this 10 secrets to blah, blah, blah could do really well with the moon in Scorpio.
Got it.
So basically, school's open here. I mean, ignore the moon and you're leaving open rates on the table. And by the way, you're opening my eyes on Mercury. I thought Mercury was the beater car I was going to buy in college, but apparently there's more to it than that. So there you go.
That too.
So a minute ago, Mark brought up millennials. And I think you've told me this before, that younger generations are really into all this.
Yeah. I get clients, and I speak with clients really only about their financial questions and lives. I get a lot of people, and increasing numbers, in their 20s and early 30s who see talking to a financial astrologer as just par for the course. Well, why wouldn't I? I use astrology for lots of other decisions in my life. I pay attention regularly. I'm interested in what to do about career and financial questions that I have. Why wouldn't I talk to a financial astrologer?
I know. I just love it, you know?
No, it seems very, very much a thing.
I'm glad it's a thing.
Yeah,
and now
I am
they're all
too.
going to be calling you about when to launch campaigns or reconnect with an old client. I mean, that's all good new news for them.
Yeah.
In addition to the financial advice I'm sure you're giving them. So it kind of segues to, it's not just individuals who can use this knowledge, right?
Oh, yeah.
Corporations can use it, right? Tell us about that.
As a company, your company has a birth chart just like you and I do. And it's the incorporation chart for when it was first established and recognized by a state authority is typically the way we look at it. Most companies in the United States are incorporated in Delaware, not all. But you can find the date and time mostly, and certainly the state capital from whenever the company. So that's the birth chart. And then in my head, that company just becomes a person.
Of course.
It has personality traits that in marketing speak we say are keywords.
Yep, they're keywords.
Branding
they're
keywords.
persona.
Yeah, personas, yeah. And then you just, there's, you just look at a company as a person and see how the planets connecting with the chart as they go around the natal chart, interact with it, like little wheels on the, I always imagine it as the back side of a watch where the little wheels click in. And when they click in, you can look for something to happen.
We seem to have kind of a Mercury theme going to our conversation so far. So I want to go a little big picture if we could. You talked about timing campaigns, launching websites, rebrands, but there's something called Mercury retrograde. What is that, and why should marketers care about that, do you think?
Once again, the Mercury retrograde from a launch perspective, and for sure, I think even when you and I had worked together,
yes,
way back when, I probably didn't know very much about astrology at the moment, but I knew enough not to launch a website that we were working on when Mercury is retrograde, because it introduces too many potential problems, miscommunication, bad code, mistakes, whatever. And there's a couple of really good examples in the corporate world. Edsel in the 1950s
50s.
Wow.
introduced the Edsel with Mercury retrograde.
1958, yeah.
Yeah. And big hype. And lots of people came to the showroom apparently, but nobody bought the car. And they said it was misunderstood. The design of the car and what it was trying to do was misunderstood, which is like the perfect Mercury retrograde word for a car that was launched. A car, also Mercury oriented, to your point, Mark, under a Mercury retrograde. And so they gave it up. They lost, I don't know, a couple $1 billion
No
in
kidding.
today's world.
Didn't survive.
They didn't survive. The Edsel certainly didn't survive.
And I got to tell everybody, I think I owe Susan an apology. When we were working together all those years ago, I remember rolling my eyes at the thought of not launching the website because we had it ready to go. And now I realized, oh, she might have been right.
Well, and the upside to that, and believe me, we launched several websites when I was there. The upside is that we could be really specific about a date to hit. And we would hit it because there was no choice.
You're in a fast-moving industry, yeah.
Yeah, and particularly if we were going into a Mercury retrograde, we couldn't miss it because then we'd have to back it up and launch during a retrograde. I'm like, no, that's not happening. And so...
A little bit of pressure, but we made it.
Yeah. And so you look great when you can say,
Absolutely.
Here's the date. This is when we're doing it.
And so tell us more about the use of astrology in corporate America, or corporate anywhere, really. You started to talk about, how you figure out when to do things, but what about annual planning? What about SWOT analysis?
Mm-hmm. Well, we go back to the birth chart for the company. And just like you might see your personal astrologer on an annual basis around your birthday, maybe, to see what the next year might hold, you can do the same thing for the company that you're working for. Take a long-term view into the next year, see what, particularly the big outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto might be doing in connection with your company's chart to see if that brings up anything that you need to capitalize on or be prepared to deal with. For example, if Jupiter is coming, the planet that expands everything and wants enormous success for everything it touches, when Jupiter comes up and is aligned, conjunct in astrologer speak, with the company's sun, huge opportunity for publicity, good public relations, big successes. And so you could plan a party, an event around the time that Jupiter is near the company's sun.
All right, all you listeners, you heard that. You might have to back up the podcast and hear that again. But PR, social media, and
absolutely.
Experiential, huge for Jupiter.
What's fascinating here, though, is I don't know a lot about astrology. I know enough about B2B marketing, unlike my sister who knows everything, to just be dangerous with it. But I can see the ties that really bind here. Emotionalism, behavioralism, impressions, that kind of thing. All of those go into what marketers look at to kind of measure what their customers, either individuals or businesses, want. I can see a real tie here. That's interesting.
Yeah. And, as marketers, you're trying to capture the attention and emotions to create an emotional reaction in the people you're trying to reach. And certainly being aware of what the moon is doing can help with that, I think.
Oh, that's great. And, I think you guys have both hit on a topic. You're starting to talk about the individual level. And so tell us a little bit about how astrology would affect team dynamics. Because, corporate America is all made up of groups of teams.
And wouldn't it be nice if we could ask a birthday question on a form to get a job? Because that would make life a lot easier.
For you.
For anybody trying to build the team.
Okay. Tell us more.
Yeah. Well, my one example that was kind of aha moment was when I was when working with your company, Liz, or talking to you, and you had your 4 main principal people were in each of the elements of sign. Your co-CEO was in fire.
Yep.
As like the instigator, getting things rolling. You were water.
I'm water.
And you were the person who was, doing making sure everybody was taken care of and all
trying
of
to
that.
keep the waters calm.
That sums my sister up, yeah.
Your creative director was in earth that got things done. And your PR person was in air, which is all about ideas and communication and
How
community.
about it?
So I thought that was really interesting that
Good
you
for
had
us.
self-selected, into that kind of thing. And I think most people do kind of self-select into that because, which makes me think that astrology, that we do feel it, even though you might not be aware of it. It's like, that we need that kind of energy. And so you attract it and it attracts to you. On my team, when I was at the brokerage firm, I remember one year my boss said to me, "Gosh, you guys get a lot done." And I told my astrologer that at the time who I was seeing, and she said, "Well, do you know the birthdays of everybody there?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. We all have birthday parties and stuff." And we looked at it, and every one of the people that reported to me in charge of creative direction, website, webinars, ad sales, we were all earth signs. And earth signs are the ones that just do it. Get stuff done.
Well, tell us about some of the other element combos, right, that'll make a team successful.
Well, it's nice to have a mix. I think your company was a good example. And the people in charge of those certain areas were reflecting the upside, the good side of those elements that bring it together. Fire is about kicking things off and doing, getting things going, but they aren't the ones to do it.
Right. They hate process.
Yeah. They hand it off to the earth signs, and the earth signs get it done, and they love doing that.
Water sounds like it would be good for operations.
Water is good for HR.
Okay.
And creating and the who are the people that logistics maybe
Logistics.
Designing the office to make sure that everybody is got a good space that they can be most effective in, that sort of thing. And then the air people are about hey, let's do this.
Big idea people.
Big idea people.
So the takeaway is check your element. Is kind of what I'm hearing here. But I got to kind of ask a follow-up question on that. You're talking about you were talking about the 4 elements just a minute ago, and you said my sister fits into water, which I certainly know she does. But are there, to use the analogy, are there sub-chapters to chapters? I mean, I'll pick on my sister Liz as an example. I've seen her do all 4.
Yes.
4 extremely
Yes.
well. So wouldn't they have a part to play in team dynamics, I would think?
It does. I'm just speaking mainly about sun sign.
Okay.
That is easy enough to sort at any company if, like I said, if you do nothing more than just have birthday parties.
Right, right. Well, I think, Mark, you're onto something. I think Mark was telling us to all go back, take a look at the teams that we're part of, and look at everybody's birth date and figure out what element they are and make sure you've got all the elements that you need, or how to incorporate one that maybe you don't have as much of that you need. Like air, everybody needs the big idea people, that we can put them on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And then I don't mind being the one that helps execute, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And yes, you can subdivide, like water is Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. So beyond water, then the individual signs that are associated with water have their own characteristics.
I mean, there is business principle here. There is scientific method here. And, marketers love that kind of stuff. But my point is, what's interesting to me about this whole discussion is that you're looking at a new set of metrics to make a sounder marketing business decision so that your team can bring home the ROI that you're fixated on. And I think there's a really close tie here with this. It's a new set of factors to look at, is my point, and analyze. I really find that fascinating.
And you're telling us not to do it in the closet.
Yeah.
No, don't. I did for a while, and then I finally did come out to my boss, and he was like, okay, whatever.
Well, that's our goal today. We want to win over the skeptics. I mean, maybe the younger generations are already really hip with this, but there's folks out there that are listening that are rolling their eyes, and we got to convert you.
Well, then get past that, for God's sake. I took the Burlington with commodity guys for 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
And these guys, I used to love to eavesdrop and, waiting for the train to get in. And you're from that world. What these guys look at, what they bet on, what the factors they look at, for all this, from gold to soybeans to corn. I mean, the metrics that they cast a wide net on were just pretty impressive. So in an emotionally driven world like commodities, I could see where astrology fits in as a pretty good business practice.
Well, I've proven it to myself, having actively focused on trying to use astrology to forecast market prices. And I've convinced myself that it works.
Very cool. And apparently the younger generations are right there with you.
Yeah. Well, I think getting there. But yeah, I do. I hear from younger people who just take this as a matter of course.
Love it.
And I think that's great because, like I said, I think we all do feel our charts, whether we're conscious about it or not. And if you can be more conscious about it and put the astrology to work in a positive way, it's like getting an edge that others might not be using.
There you go. We all want a competitive edge.
Yeah.
But look at the market that you come from, agriculture and farming. I mean, at one point back in the way back machine, it was alchemy to look at tides and ocean currents and
weather,
wind direction, weather in general. And you know what? Sometimes that farmer's almanac was not that far off about how your crop was going to come up that next spring based upon the kind of wet, dry, cold, whatever kind of fall and winter you got into here. So I think there's some strong ties here that really pull this together.
Yeah, weather forecasting has been a bailiwick of astrology, probably back to Ben Franklin. And I don't know how the Farmer's Almanac does theirs, but I was just on a webinar a few weeks ago about using astrology for weather forecasting, which I try to do my best at to see how bad the Chicago winter is going to be.
Okay.
And this year looks cold.
Well, if we want a weather
handle
forecast, we just call up Grandma Brohan and ask her how she was feeling. And boy, she could predict it like a science, I'm telling you. So
That's very true.
Well, that's good.
Well, Susan, this is so fascinating. But before we wrap up, we're going to play a little game. Okay. It's the lightning round.
Okay.
And it's bull or no bull.
Okay.
So we're going to make a statement, and you tell us, is that bull or no bull? And tell us why.
Okay.
So I'll start us off. Okay. So astrology isn't really that helpful for strategy. It's about timing.
No bull. I think it does both.
astrology is a fancy form of fortune telling.
Oh, now that's bull. Just because, we got to get rid of the wrapped turban.
The fortune teller aspects. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, here's a question that's going to win over the skeptics. Your predictions based on astrology are more than 75% accurate.
See, that one's tough. I kind of have to go bull.
Rats.
And it's not that, it's just that the number is high.
Give us a better number.
I'll give you a picture. When I track the forecast that I do for markets, and I watch 8 different markets on a regular basis, and I pick highs and lows for the next month, I do keep track to see if I can get better at it, to see if something has shifted that I should pay more attention to. And really, over the years, it has come out to be very much a bell curve. There's, 10 to 15% where it's perfect. There's maybe 15 to 20% where I'm completely backwards.
Oh, my.
And the majority are in the middle.
Good.
Within, if I say Tuesday, maybe it's Monday or Thursday.
So it's 60 to 70%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just that 75 sounded a little high to me.
Okay. Just a little high, everybody. Not too high.
But look at the KPI on that. That's pretty incredible.
There you go, Mark.
That's a business metric. Mm-hmm. That's not makeup. That's a business metric.
All
but
right.
at the same time, I would go with that when you're looking at, okay, what would be a good time to do a launch? What time would be a good time to hit the email send? Yeah. That for sure, yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right.
Well, one question. When do we all win the lotto?
Oh, I wish I knew how to do that. I just had somebody this week
had to ask.
Send me an email and say, hey, can you help me pick lottery numbers? I'm like, sorry, I don't do that.
Is this still up there on 1.8 billion or some such one of those ungodly figures again?
I didn't win it either.
I didn't win it.
So there you hear it. That was bull. All right, Susan, this has been so refreshing. We can't thank you enough. But before we go, you got to tell people how to get a hold of you because I think your phone's going to start ringing.
Well, email is better.
Email's better.
Susan at susangidel.com is email. So my website is susangidel.com. And I have a book on Amazon about the markets and do a newsletter about the markets called Red Letter Trading Days.
What are those called, quickly? What are those called?
The book is called Trading in Sync with Commodities. And the newsletter is Red Letter Trading Days.
Okay.
Love it.
Based on the idea that, remember the old calendars that had red numbers for holidays and stuff?
Yes.
Like special days? That's what I thought.
It's always going to be a special day with Susan. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
This has been a hoot.
I think it's been educational.
Have we got you convinced?
What's that?
Have we got you convinced, Mark?
I wasn't a skeptic to begin with.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Emotionalism drives marketing.
I would have bet that was bull.
Yes,
but good.
It does. No, and that's the key thing, isn't it? Emotions drive marketing.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
So the moon. Find a moon app you love and learn to use it.
You want me to tell you what else drives emotion? Sponsors. We love them.
Great segue.
So let me just thank our sponsors really quick. First of all, there's the Motion Agency. They have just been ranked the #2 fastest growing B2B marketing communications firm in the country. So please check them out. And Embas. Embas is a marketing consulting firm. They do content development. They do change management. They do all kinds of wonderful things for business. So please give them a look. Thanks, everybody. We can't wait for the next episode. And in the meantime, no bull, people.